didn't intend to finish it, but I just wanted to kind of show you what people's hearts was going to be like in the last days. And if you read that in 2 Timothy, you're going to see that people are going to have a whole lot of issues. And it's going to be about how people treat each other. And that's where we are. And if you go back to that Timothy text, you're going to really see exactly the kind of people that are going to, they'll be in the last days. And you know, we talked about lovers of money, lovers of themselves, and without self-control, and lovers of pleasure rather than God, having a form of godliness that denies the power of it, and have nothing to do with such people. And he's really going to kind of continue to really go into the kind of hearts people will have in these last days. And that's really what I wanted to focus on. But now, that's how people will treat each other in the last days. Because he's going to talk about, in verse 6, y'all don't want me to go there, but I guess I need to touch on it. Because verse 6 is going to talk about the heart of women in that day. The heart of women in that day. And he's going to talk about how the devil and Satan is going to get control over what the Bible calls as gullible women. I'm in Second Timothy now. I'm just kind of reviewing last week's lesson. I'm in 2 Timothy. I'm gonna go to Romans chapter 1 in a minute. Romans 1:18 in a minute. But I'm just trying to give an overview of what we discussed last week.
Okay.
And he talks about in the 6th chapter, in the 6th verse in the 3rd chapter of 2 Timothy, he's going to talk about gaining control over gullible women, loaded down with sin, and swapping all kinds of evil desires, ever learning but not able to grasp the truth. And that's where we are. And you see that word women. I wanted to go to verse 6 because he's going to mention it in Romans chapter 1, starting around verse 18. And listen, don't y'all throw nothing up here. But if you really want to gauge the morality of a society, look at what the women are doing. When the women get to the place where morality and normacy has been abandoned, that is the fall of any society. He's going to tell Timothy this, that because you do know women are the weaker vessel. Adam was not deceived, Eve was. And she's more vulnerable to being deceived. And so he's going to talk about this, that the devil himself is going to target women and try to weaken women, weaken their morality, weaken their standards. He's going to try to weaken them. And when you weaken women, our societies fall and collapse. Okay, see now y'all acting funny. Because you the same women that say if it wasn't for women, there would be no church. I'm giving you that position. That if it wasn't for women, there would be no church. But what Timothy is told by Paul, that there's going to come a time where that solid base of the church, solid base of religious faith is going to be compromised because the devil is going to start attacking them. And as he deceived Eve, he's going to try to deceive women. And once he does that, he's not going to be able to deceive strong women of faith who have a strong, committed prayer life. He's not going to be able to target them, but it is the gullible women who let their guards down and buy into a modern concept of womanhood. That you don't need a man, you can make it by yourself. And those kind of women, and I don't even want to get into the other subject, because I'm live on Facebook and I don't want to get too deep into other stuff. But I'm telling you, that's what he says. That the devil is going to target those women and those gullible women who have stripped all of morality out of their minds, all decency out of their heart. They have no standards, and they're going to think that they are equal to a man. Equal in outcome, not equal in importance. You're not less than I am. You are equal to me in importance. But the roles that we have in society, in culture, in family, in the church is different. But when the roles reverse, that's where Timothy says it's going to cause a lot of compromise and problems within the Christian church. Nobody want to accept that that's where we are leading to. Now, I'm going to say this, and y'all can get mad if you want to. Women were never called to lead the church. They never were given any apostolic authority. They were called to serve in the church, and they have a specific role. God has given them a role, a responsibility. It doesn't mean that women cannot exercise leadership, but that leadership is limited within the Christian church. Because the two authoritative positions, apostolic positions, started by the early church is pastors and deacons. Okay. Y'all won't get quiet on me, but that's all right. All of a sudden, y'all want to get quiet on me. I'm just trying to explain to you. And whenever this order or this disorder occurs, it weakens the church, it weakens the family, and it weakens the community. We need women to accept their gender role in the church, in the family, and in the community. The Bible never tells women to sit down in the church. But the Bible says if men stood up, the women wouldn't have to stand up. If the men would step up. And the Bible declares more definitively that men need to step up more than it says that women need to sit down. And we don't have men standing up in church, in family, in community, or in society. And I'm just going to give you, that's where it was when it comes to what Paul was trying to communicate to Timothy. Now we're going to go to Romans chapter 1. Now Romans chapter 1 deals primarily with the condition of the mind. Because the mind, in the last days, people's minds are going to be really corrupt, perverted, immoral, have no standard of decency. Now he talks about in that Timothy text, he talks about learning but never able to grasp the truth. Ever learning but never able to grasp the truth. And I'm telling you, there's more information out here about everything, but people know nothing. Because they're ever learning. Let me give it to you in a way y'all can understand it, because that's what y'all generation would say. Every generation grows wiser but weaker. That's all Paul was trying to tell Timothy. Every generation grows wiser but weaker. We got all this knowledge, all this education, all this innovation, all this technology, but we're not as strong as a generation who didn't have as much. Because when you had less, you had to think more. You had to do more. You had to be more creative. But now you got all this technology, all this wisdom. Nothing is hard to do anymore. Nothing takes any effort, any energy. You don't have to do anything today. You don't have to cook a meal. You warm it up in the microwave. It's already pre-cooked. You don't have to make no biscuits. You just pop them out of the can, put them in the stove. You don't even have to fry chicken. You don't have to grow nothing. You don't have to prepare nothing. And what technology is doing, Michelle, is making us dumber and dumber and dumber. Because we're not learning anything. We are ever learning but not able to grasp the truth about things. That's what he says to Timothy about in the last days, what will be the condition of people's hearts. And because they are ever learning but not able to grasp truth, they become weaker. And then I'm going to go to Romans, because I'm trying to quantify what Paul writes in Romans. Because he's going to write that now you have men's hearts are weaker, now men's minds are weaker, now society morally, intellectually has become weak. Yes. We just don't have the kind of people that were born at one time in this country. Those kind of people don't exist anymore. This generation can't take nothing. They don't know nothing. They have no drive. They have no motivation. They have no ambition. They have no goals. They feel entitled. They feel privileged. And they're easily triggered. You can't say nothing to them. You can't tell them nothing. And they want everything because they think they deserve it and you ought to give it to them. And they don't want to have to put no work, no effort, no commitment, make no sacrifice to get anything. They want what it took you 30 years to get. They want it in 3 days. They want to live at your level. And they don't realize it took you 30 years to get what you are, to have what you have. It took a lot of commitment, dedication. It took a lot of sacrifice. It took a work ethic. It took a disciplined approach to finances for you to get where you are. You didn't get it overnight. And they got more opportunities than you have. They can get it faster. They don't have to go to college. They don't have to work 30 years. They can make in 3 years what it took you to make in 30 years. They don't even know what it's like to make 25 cents an hour. Some of y'all do. They don't even know what it's like to be a sharecropper. I was trying to explain to Steen, trying to get her to understand. We're having a conversation. I grew up on a sharecropper's farm called the McAllister's Farm in Myrtle, Mississippi, until I was 12. My grandfather, my grandmother, my auntie Hattie, my mother Marie, and their children worked that farm until I was 12. And we had to split it with Mr. McAllister, all of the harvest that we harvested. And as long as my grandfather was producing a harvest, he could live there. But when my mother moved, my auntie moved, and they took their children, my grandmother and my grandfather got put off that farm. They could live there and work the land. And when we moved to New Albany, my auntie lived in New Albany, they were just there by themselves. Mr. McAllister forced them to move off of the property because they didn't bring any more value to them. These young people don't know nothing about that. I know something about it. Because I was a little kid out there picking corn and peas and mustardines and blackberries. Didn't pick no cotton, but it was enough stuff to where we had to give a percentage of it to Mr. McAllister. And my grandfather could keep a percentage of it and work the pigs, the cows, and the land. And that's all my childhood was for the first 12 years of my life. And I'm telling you, we are at a different time, at a different stage, and these young people don't realize really what it takes to get where you are. They kind of, in a sense, resent you. They resent your success. And then they claim to work hard. You don't know what hard work is. working 8 hours a day, and then come to my house and go to sleep. You don't pay no bills. You ain't got nothing in your name. And you talking about I'm tired. From what? I'm just telling you the way these young people think. What? I mean, I don't want to hear nobody under 40 talk about I'm tired. Tired of what? I don't want to even get into this because I really get on my soapbox. Talking about I can't handle it. Life's just tough. I don't know what I'm going to do. I mean, what? You live with me. Driving a car you ain't paid for. Living under lights you don't pay no contribution to. You ain't got to worry about food, shelter, or clothes. And you talking about you stressed out? Stressed out over what? I don't understand what you stressed out for. I mean, I don't even understand at all where these young people's minds are. Ever learning. Got all that education. And can't make it from day to day. Have a mental breakdown. Over nothing. And so I want to kind of go over this one because he's going to now talk about how we treat each other. Now he's going to talk about the condition, the way people think determines how people behave. And now he's going to talk about the behavior of society at that time because the heart has now been corrupted. Now the devil is going to try to corrupt the mind. Because, you know, in Romans he's going to say, be ye not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the what? Renewing of your mind. He says that in this book. And that's what we got to focus on. And you want to deal with the crime problem in America, the lack of motivation and the lack of this idea to go out and earn and work and to respect each other's right. We got to get into the mind of people and change the way they think. Because if your thinking becomes tainted or defective or deficient, you got a degenerate person who will do anything. There are no limits to what they'll do because they don't have a respect for life, not your life, not their life, not anybody's life. They take what they want, even if they have to injure you. So what he's going to talk about in verse 18 of Romans chapter 1, he says, the wrath of God is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and the wickedness of people who suppress the truth by their wickedness. Now, I don't even want to go there. Because, I mean, it's so much in that verse. They suppress the truth by their wickedness. So this is redefining what truth is and replacing God's truth with our truth. Now, I'm finna get banned off Facebook again. Get in Facebook jail. Because this is what it says. Who suppress the truth by their wickedness. Since what may be known about God is plain to them. And God has made it plain to them. God has given some moral laws about right and wrong, about good and evil, that's just plain to us. Those 10 commandments are plain. He wrote it plain. You cannot redefine any of those commandments. Because when he says you suppress this and you redefine all of these commandments of God. That's where we are in our country. Because people's minds are messed up. And so their behavior is so much different. I mean, if you take a redefinition of those things that are the last four, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not bear false witness, and thou shalt not covet. We've redefined what all of those things mean. We suppress that truth and come up with our own truth. It is a redefinition of morality. It's a redefinition of morals. It is turning everything upside down. And you have to ignore biology, science, and theology to do some of the things that they're doing to suppress the truth. It's so beyond the pale. I mean, you got to go so outside of truth. Some of y'all might be colorblind. What color is this blazer I got on? Blue? Black, blue, one or the other. Blue. Now sit up here and argue to me that it's yellow. It's just not. You have to suppress the truth. You have to ignore what's obvious. Even coming up on a close examination, and you're not doing a close examination, you're doing a distant observation of the color of my jacket, but we know it ain't yellow. We know it ain't white. We know it ain't green. Now, you can convince yourself that it is whatever color you want it to be if you tell yourself that for so long. And you try to normalize that which isn't normal. Man, I'm trying to walk light because I don't want to get banned again. But I'm telling you, he says, who suppress the truth by their wickedness. They just wicked. I mean, some things are just wicked. And it's just ungodly. And so that is a redefinition of what is true. Now, we all have to agree that marriage is ordained by God. And in the original intent of marriage, it is between a man and a woman. There can be no redefinition. Nowhere in Scripture, nowhere in history, does any other civilization in all of human history redefine marriage other than the marriage between a man and a woman. Now, in some culture, you can have about 5 or 6 husbands and 5 or 6 wives, but it's still between male and female. We live in a society that has suppressed the truth. And now we promote wickedness, the redefinition of everything. And then we go further than that to redefine marriage. We go back to the basics of redefining what a woman is. Now come on now. Suppressing the truth. To promote our own wickedness. Suppress the truth by our wickedness. Now listen, a woman is a woman. Biological woman has ovaries. And a man can never, I don't care what he twists, tuck, and change, be a woman. I don't care what a woman cut off, remove, she can never be a man. A man can never have children. And 2 women can never produce a child. Paul saying the behavior, the moral behavior of people have changed as such that they try to suppress the truth with their wickedness. And they know the truth. What he says at the end of this 19th verse, he says, God has shown it to them plainly, and they know it. Since the creation of the world, all of these things, God's invisible qualities, the power, his divine nature, has been clearly seen. In other words, he is arguing that if you go back to biological evolution simply means how was something when it first began. That's simple, biological evolution. That's a big word. But biological evolution is how did something begin when it began, and how was it when it started. And however it began and however it started, that's what it is. You can't call a rock a tree, or a tree a rock. A tree might be beside a rock, but it's still a tree. And it is visibly seen the order of things. You cannot redefine everything and start calling stuff what it's not. Go back to biological evolution. Now, there is something in science called microevolution, and that is that things that have a biological beginning evolves to adapt to their environment. We're not arguing that. But you ain't never seen a man change into a woman. I'm just trying to give you that simple one. And I'm just trying to tell you, not because this affect. Listen, you have to think in order to believe some of the stuff they're trying to push down your throat, and they convince you that you are what you could never be. If you are in the first, third, fourth, kindergarten, and your birth certificate say male, that's what you are, period. If you're a female, that's what you are, period. There's no change in that. Your gender is determined at birth. And there is no gender fluency where you change. I don't care what you feel like. Sometimes I feel like a nut and sometimes I don't. That don't mean I'm a nut. Ain't got nothing to do with feelings. It has to do with facts, the truth. He created both male and female. Marriage is between a man and a woman, and the only thing that defines what a family is a man, woman, and children. It's not two men and children, it's not two women and children, it's man, woman, and children. That's the family in every society. And you are seducing people. Wootner, California said we done let Tyler Perry fool all of us and made us accept that it's okay for a man to walk around with a wig and a dress for the sake of entertainment. But that's a form of psychological manipulation to make us accept and suppress the truth that ain't normal, neither is it right. But in the name of entertainment, we laugh at it until it trickles down to your house, your community, your church. Then it ain't funny no more. When it knocks on your front door, you got to deal with it. My daughter moved to Atlanta. It just as an illustration. And she wants to date. She's single. But you don't know what's a woman or man? You can't go out and just meet somebody randomly because you don't know what they are. That's a shame. That's a shame. And some of y'all old dudes like me better be careful. Smiling at these girls, they look pretty. They might not be what they dressed up to be. I'm just saying, but Paul is saying the mind has been so seduced that the truth you have to suppress the truth to believe some of the stuff they're trying to push upon us now. Yes. You know how much mind manipulation. And then he talks about, now this one I really love, verse 21, though they knew God, they neither would glorify him as God or give thanks to him. That's where people are in their minds. They won't acknowledge that there is a God in heaven. Now, to understand what he's saying there is so important. Do you believe in God? Do you believe that there is only one God? She said, listen, God did not even capitalize the word God in the first commandment because he doesn't consider them his equal. There is but one God of the universe. And that God lives outside of time, does not consist of matter, and lives outside of time. He is the all-knowing God of the universe. Do you accept that there is only one God? There are many religions, but there's only one God. There aren't many gods. One God. of the universe, and in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth, that one God. He has no equals. He has no rivals. I listened to a guy the other day, and this was so profound. Don't ever put Satan at the same level as God, because they're not at the same level. Satan is a created being. He's not equal to God, and he's not God's rival. Because if you can get put out of a place, that means you ain't as powerful as the person that put you out. If you need permission to do something on the earth, you ain't as powerful as God. And if you need God's permission to bring tragedy, sickness, and pain in somebody's life, and you need God's permission, you're not all powerful, you're not equal to God. Satan is not God's equal. Sometimes we give the devil too much credit. He ain't as powerful as we try to play him off to be. Rebuke the devil. You ain't got to even pay no attention to the devil. Only power he has is what you give him. He ain't got no power. You have more to worry about. Your sin nature is stronger than Satan's influence in your life. What makes you sin is not Satan's influence, but your own sin nature. The devil very rarely talks to you, but your sin nature does all the time. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 24 hours in a day. Your sin nature is what tempts you and leads you to want to sin, not the devil. He doesn't have that much sway in your life. He only can have influence on you. But what you struggle against is your sin nature, that lives in you, that loves sin, love pleasure, love satisfying your flesh. Ain't it the truth what I'm saying? Yes. Go ahead. Yes. So this statement they make about the devil made me do it, it's not true. Never true. Never true. Your sin nature is what made you do it. The devil doesn't have that much sway in your life. He's not all-knowing. He can't read your mind. He can't know your thoughts. Look at Job chapter 1. He could observe what was happening, but he could not look into Job's mind nor in Job's heart. Everything he said to God was about an external observation of what Job was going through. He said, I noticed Job got everything. His life is perfect. That's something he observed from looking on the outside. And then when he took all of that, he went back to God. I observed this about Job. He got his health. He's still healthy walking around, and he can rebuild what he lost. Let me take his health. Because he got that. I took everything. Yeah. Now, can I get permission to go take his health? Because first of all, he asked God to take this hedge of protection from around him and his stuff. Now he says to God, let me make him sick. And God said you can make him so sick until you can take him to death's front door, but you can't open it. That was an outside observation. He cannot read your thoughts. He can work outside of you, but he cannot work within you. Does that make sense to you? And then he talk about in this verse, nor give thanks to him. And that is such a statement. Everything you have, you ought to give God thanks for it. Quit sitting up here acting like you done anything to have what you have, to be where you are, and to accomplish what you accomplished. You did it with God's help. I don't care how much education you got, how much money you got, how long you live, you are living on the grace of God. He has the power to take your life, to save your life, to extend your life. We don't give enough thanks to God for our existence. We thank God for the things that we have, the things that we receive. But how about just thanking God for your existence, that you still here? Keep taking for granted that you still here. Woke up this morning with a whole lot of pain, but at least I'm here to feel it. Yes. Leg, knees, ankles might be hurting, but I'm still here. Yes. I thank him for my very existence, the breath that comes from my nose, the air that goes into my lungs, that causes my heart, my brain, my blood. I'm able to put one foot in front of the other. Be thankful to God for that. We don't want to give God any credit. Thank God I'm still alive. Not to the medicine, not to the doctor, not to my dates of years on the calendar because I'm 60 or 70 or 90. That ain't why I'm still alive. I'm still alive because God keeping me here. We live in an unthankful generation. They think it's for all these other reasons they're alive. Man, you alive because God letting you live in his word. At any minute he could push the delete button and you out of here. But nor give him thanks. But their thinking has become futile, and their foolish hearts are darkened. And I'm just telling you, and see, you want to know why it's so hard to reach people now. Their thoughts and their heart. This means, that word fruitful, it means they got noodle brains. You know what noodles are? They just a filler. You know you don't eat spaghetti for the noodles, you eat spaghetti for the meat. The spaghettis are a filler. Yes. And it's just, and I'm just trying to explain to you, these young people, they ain't got nothing up here because they don't want nothing up here because they replace all of this truth with foolishness. And then it darkens their heart. You can't reach them. If a person's heart is darkened and their minds have been confused and the truth has been suppressed, you can't tell them that. That's why you can't send none of your crazy grandchildren. They ain't interested in hearing nothing from you about church and God, about right and wrong, what's true. They'll cut you out in a minute. They'll dismiss you. They ain't interested because their hearts are darkened and their mind is full of foolishness. They ain't want to hear nothing you got to say. You can't tell them nothing. I'm telling you, you can't listen. And the older you get and the younger your grandchildren and great grandchildren become, you just about gonna have to leave them alone. You just gonna have to go along to get along with them. Now you know how you is about your house. Where you got your whatnots, where you want children not to sit, not to go, not to touch. And then they bring them little demon spawn children to your house. And just let them do anything and then tell you, mama, he just a baby. I don't care if he is just a baby. You ain't gonna do anything in my house. This my house. You do what if you want them knocking off your whatnots and all that kind of stuff, that's on you. But listen, you in my house. And when you in my house, my rules apply. And it's hard to say something to them. I'm almost finna get finished with this, but let me explain to you. I'm just telling you, the foolish hearts were darkened and their thinking or their minds were like noodle brains. They just don't know how to think. They just ain't got enough to think with. Their minds have been so diluted. You know, you need the truth to have a strong mind. And if you make a decision after you know the truth, that's on you. But at least you need to accept that there are some things that are just true. Everybody in here knows that a hot iron on a stove will burn. You accept that truth. So now if you touch it anyway, that's on you. But you have to accept that that's a truth that has a consequence. These kids don't accept anything as truth, so they don't believe there are any consequences for anything. And so they recklessly move forward and they do anything. The two things you have going against you when you are foolish in your mind and your heart's been dark, there's going to come a time when reality going to catch up with the truth that is the truth. It's just it. See, you can't tell them nothing now, but let them keep living. I tell you what you do, put them out and let them live on their own. The truth will come to them way quicker. Pay their own bill, their own address, and let them see what life really is, what it really means to work hard, to sacrifice, to lose and get some repossessions, live in darkness, don't have no food, struggle to keep shelter over their head. You got to move out because I need somewhere to come visit, and I don't want to visit you in my back room, in my extra bedroom. I want to drive across town, across the state lines. I want to visit you. I don't want to see you every day. I want to come home to my own house, and when I get ready to leave my house, I want nobody to be there but nobody. I'm just trying to explain something to you. And then he talks about, and although they claim to be wise, that's the problem. Man, listen, some of the smartest people in Clay County sitting in this room right now. Y'all don't claim to be wise, you just are. Two ways you get wise, Kim. Learned experience and lived experience. You might not have ever went to college, but you got some learned experience. You've been able to learn some things about life and about living just by living. But then there's learned experience that helps you wise. That means you sit in a classroom, go to college, or you let somebody teach you. The problem with these young people, you can't tell them nothing. And they ain't lived long enough and had enough of life's experiences to know anything. Let me give you this example. Two 21-year-old single women should never give each other advice about trying to get a man. What they know. What could either one of them tell either one of them that's going to happen? You need to, okay, you don't have enough lived experience. You don't have enough learned experience about what it means to be who you are so that you can accept what men are that you can't change, that you just going to have to accept. Because there's no such thing as perfect people. Because you don't have no lived or learned experience, you think you can change him. It ain't happening. You learn lived and learn. And you have to put time into both. One of them you get just by living a long life. But now listen, don't think because you old, you wise. Because you can't be an educated fool and you can't be an old fool. Just because you old don't mean you wise. Because not all old people are wise. And not all educated people are wise. You know what a wise person would do if they got old? They would start watching how they step every day because they know that if you step in certain places, some places you step you ain't coming back from, and some places you step you might injure yourself. Some places you step, that might be the last time you ever step. That's what learned and lived experience teaches you. But I'm telling you, this generation, Paul says, is going to think they are so wise. I'm going to give you this. This is so simple, but it don't it's going to really speak to what Paul is saying. You know, young folks think that food comes from the grocery store. Food don't come from the grocery store. It comes from somebody who farms it out of the land. They have to take care of it after they plant it. They got to make sure that the insects in the grass doesn't overtake it. And then they have to harvest it. Then they have to process it, take it to market and sell it. Then it's got to be processed again, canned, delivered to the grocery store. Don't worry about the grocery store running out of food, because that ain't where your problem going to be. Your farmers stop growing food, pigs, chickens. Food does not come from the grocery store. It comes through the grocery store. Any one of us in here could make it if every grocery store in this town shut down if you give us some seeds.
Yes.
You could plant some greens, some tomatoes, peas, butter beans, corn. Anybody in here? Almost anybody in here could do that. You could do it too, couldn't you?
I did.
But I'm saying all of us have a level of wisdom that could grow. Couldn't anybody in here grow a garden?
Yes.
I'm planting tomatoes this year. I can't wait. I'm excited.
You must ain't got no deal around.
I hope not. You got to put some chicken wire up. The deer and the squirrel. But I'm telling you, my problem, everybody thinks they so wise. They think they so smart. Let me tell you the biggest way you know young people are not smart, because they live today forgetting about tomorrow. You live today and live for tomorrow, and you didn't forfeit everything tomorrow for today. This is one of the things I heard on social media this week that's so interesting. You got a $2,000 Louis Vuitton purse with $2 in it, walking around like you bought it. You got a brand new car with a $1,200 car note with $600 rims, with a $1,000 wrap, living with your mama. What's wise about that? You get what I'm saying? They don't think. They think they so smart. And you got to live beyond the day. And then he says, and exchange the glory of the immortal God for images made by mortal men or mortal human beings and birds and animals and reptiles. Boy, y'all, okay, can I say this? He's talking about we have become an animal-obsessed generation, where everybody got a dog, a bird, a lizard, a cat. And when you elevate those animals above humans, something wrong with you. That's literally what he means. That the immortal God, we have elevated mortal gods and animals and birds and all of these things. We've elevated them above God, above humans. I don't care if you got a dog, it ain't no human. And if a dog is your best friend, something is wrong with you. I mean, that's the obsessed generation we live in. Everybody got a dog. That's my best friend. And he's talking about a generation where people's thinking is so messed up that animals have been elevated above humans and above gods, and we glory more the creation than the creator. Yes. That's where we are. You live in a neighborhood where people walk a lot of dogs. I'm giving an illustration, as H.B. Charles said. Got an old woman that walks in front of my house every day. 3 times a day she walking that dog. She walking that dog. Speaking to everybody, walking that dog. So one day she walking the dog. Come to an intersection. And a car runs the stop sign. And this woman jumps in front of the car to save her dog. That dog would have went to the pet cemetery that day.
Say it again.
And you know what? She ain't walked that dog since. The dog's still being walked by her son, but she can't even get up out the bed. Do you mean to tell me you prize? I mean, I'm not talking about not having any humanity, but your life is way more important than that dog.
No.
That dog has only physical life and unconscious life. You have physical life and conscious and unconscious life. And you don't elevate that dog's significance and importance above your own. What is wrong with you? You can buy another dog, but you can't buy another you.
Say it.
And he talking about elevating these. I ain't making that up. Mortal human beings, and he talking about mortal human being like a God. He's talking about where we put this whole idea that we elevate people at the level of God. And see, you don't understand that till you understand the culture we live in, where tele-evangelists, we make these people our gods. The T.D. Jakes, the Creflo Dollars, the Joyce Myers, the Kenneth Copelands, all of these people have become gods to us. We worship them like they're gods. We elevate them above the God of heaven. Because they got godlike powers and they say godlike things, we make them gods. That's where we teach when he talks about mortal human being. And he talks about him. I'm done because I'm gonna close. It's 1 o'clock. But see what I'm saying? That's where we are in our society. We make mortal men and we put them above God. We love animals. We put them above human being, human life. I ain't worried about you having a dog. But you better not treat him better than you treat me. You ain't worried about me having no something to eat, but you would go give $1 million to an animal shelter. You know, there's a woman who left her worldly possessions. She was a New York heiress in a hotel mobile, and she left every dime she had to her dog. Now, ain't that the nonsense you ever heard? If there's a such thing as nonsense? Because you're selfish. And that's and my other problem, and I'm sure I'm gonna turn this off, or I'm gonna get banned, so no. You know the other thing I got a problem with? Why is you building all these animal shelters? The nature of a dog is to be outside. What is the point of an animal shelter?